long-awaited macro video. I know you guys have been waiting for a couple weeks for this. I really appreciate your patience, but I did want to give myself like I ended up doing it for about 2.5 weeks of actually tracking and counting my macros so that I kind of knew what I was coming to you guys with. I just want to start off by saying that I am by no means an expert on macros or the IIFYM lifestyle or anything like that. I knew close to nothing when I started, but a lot of people were asking me questions about it, and I saw a lot of people following the IIFYM, which stands for If It Fits Your Macros lifestyle. So I was curious about it too, so I figured what better way to learn than just to give it a try myself. The way I'm going to do this video is kind of like a Q&A, so if you've seen any of my Q&A videos, then you're going to be familiar with how this one is set up. I have a list of questions on my phone, that's why I'll be looking at my phone, and I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in and give you guys kind of the rundown of everything that I learned and what I'm going to do from here on out. So first of all, what are macros? I guess this is kind of an important question. Some people honestly don't even know what macro means. Macro stands for macronutrient, and there are 3 macronutrients: carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So that's just a basic answer. That's what a macro is. Now that we have that out of the way, what does counting your macros actually mean? Well, it's basically tracking how many fats, proteins, and carbs that you eat in a day. You track it by grams, so it's easy. You probably want to invest in a food scale if you're going to be tracking your macros or counting your macros. So another kind of, I guess, phrase that goes along with counting macros is flexible dieting. So if you've heard of counting your macros, then you've probably heard of flexible dieting. It's basically you can eat whatever you want to eat as long as it fits your macros. So you get an allotted amount of, based on your gender, your age, your height, your weight, your activity level, all that kind of stuff. So everybody's macros are different. I should probably tell you guys that too. So what my macros are probably are not going to be the same as what your macros are. And your macros can change based on if your goals change, if your weight changes, and all that kind of stuff, which I'll link some websites below in the description box so you guys can read up more on it, because I don't know that much as far as that goes, like when you should change your macros and stuff like that. So that's research that you guys are going to have to do on your own. But flexible dieting, like I said, is just you can eat what you want as long as it fits your macro count for the day. Why did I start counting macros? Well, I kind of already told you guys this, but I was curious. I heard a lot about it, I saw a lot about it, and I was like, you know what, I just want to see firsthand like what it's all about. Is this something that I want to recommend to my clients? So before I go on and tell my clients like, hey, you should give this a try, I want to do it myself so that I'm not giving them some like crap information that I just don't even like follow at all myself. So that's the main reason why I decided to start counting macros, to just kind of see what it's all about, just to broaden my knowledge and to kind of push myself out of my comfort zone. Before I counted macros, I just focused on clean eating. I guess you could call it intuitive eating. I didn't track anything. I ate when I was hungry. I stopped eating when I was full, kind of a thing. So I kind of started to track my macros just so I could learn about it firsthand, so that I could possibly have something to relay to my clients. Like if I liked what I found while I counted my macros, it would be good for some of my clients to try out. So those are probably the 2 biggest reasons why I started counting my macros. This is probably one of the reasons why it took me so long to actually try the counting the macros. Is it a pain to count your macros? Okay, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. The first day that I was counting my macros, I was a crazy person, probably because I had no idea what I was doing. I've never really tracked my food before, so that was an adjustment in itself for me. I was like, wait, I have to measure my food? What the heck? This is going to take forever. I'm not about this. But I put my complaining to the side and I gave it a try. And after like 2 days, I really got the hang of it, and it didn't add that much time or that much annoyance, just because there are a lot of tools out there that make it a lot easier than you would think. So like I said, I would suggest getting a food scale if you're going to count your macros. Mine is, the brand is just Taylor, and I got it from Amazon. It was like 20 bucks, so nothing crazy. So there's that. And then another tool, there was 2 tools that I was really dependent upon whenever I was counting my macros: the food scale that I just showed you guys, and then the app, MyFitnessPal, which I'm going to pull up right now. I'm sure you guys have all heard of MyFitnessPal. It's been around for a long time. I was never really familiar with it, but it's actually a really, really handy tool. So if you pull up MyFitnessPal, I bought the $10 a month premium account while I was counting macros, just because it made it a lot more, it made it easier for me to track them and just kind of visually see. So here's what like the homepage looks like. I don't know if it's gonna cooperate with me. Okay, so those little circles up at the top, it tells you, you can set it to where it shows you your macronutrients. So it tells you how many grams of carbs you have left for the day, how many grams of fat, how many grams of protein you have left for the day. So whenever you're going to go and put in a food, that's probably why people are like, I'm not going to count my macros because I have to type everything that I eat. If you're using, I can't speak for anything else, but if you're using MyFitnessPal, it is really not that big of a deal, because first of all, it saves all of your frequent foods. So once they're in there, like it's quick. It takes like 2 seconds to type in a meal. And this, I had no idea that this was even a thing, or this is how MyFitnessPal works. So you can actually scan the barcode of food into MyFitnessPal. So you don't even have to sit there and like manually type everything in. It makes it super, super easy. So if you're gonna go add a food, you're gonna hit the blue add button at the bottom, and then it'll say, do you want to add water, food, exercise, blah blah blah. I really only added food. So add food, then you pick if it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, or snack. So let's just say it's breakfast, because I grabbed my Kodiak cakes, which you guys know that I love. And then it has my frequent foods already pulled up, recent and frequent. There's 2 different tabs. And so this is already on there for me, but if, say it wasn't, in the bottom right hand corner, so right down here, there's a little like scan barcode little icon, and you just click that and it brings up like a picture kind of a thing. So you just take it to the barcode, hold it there, let it register. It says searching, and then up at the top it pulls it up. It has the preset serving size on there that is already on the box. So if you're gonna have 2 servings, you need to make sure that you change that to, you know, 2 instead of 1 or whatever. But this breaks down, so it tells you that it's the waffle and flapjack mix, protein power cakes, and then parentheses Kodiak cakes. Serving size 53 grams, half a cup, which that's the serving size on the box. Number of servings that you're planning on having. So if you're gonna have half a cup, you leave it at 1. If you're gonna have a whole cup, you put it at 2, blah blah blah. And it just breaks everything down for you. So calories, fat, cholesterol's in there, sodium, potassium, carbs, fiber, sugar, protein, all your vitamin A, C, calcium, iron. So all of that is in there. So it is super, super easy to track your food. So even if you don't want to count your macros and you just want to track your food, MyFitnessPal, in my opinion, is the way to go. And that is that. I'm not going to go too much into MyFitnessPal. That would be a whole nother video on its own. But that kind of just tells you that it's really not a pain to track your macros. And plus, you have to think about where you're at, what your goals are. Like, if you are serious about reaching your goals, sometimes you have to make it a priority. Even if it does get a little bit annoying to do it a certain way, like, you got to do what you got to do to get where you want to be. So that is kind of up to you, if you want to put in the effort or if you don't. How did I track my macros? I kind of already showed you guys. I just put everything in MyFitnessPal, and it made it so easy. How did you figure out what your macros are? This one was kind of hard because there are tons and tons and tons of websites that have the little macro calculator where you can go on and figure out like what your macros are. I personally hired somebody to figure out my macros for me. I filled out a questionnaire, and it wasn't like super expensive. I only paid like 20 bucks. I wasn't going to spend like $200 for somebody to do macro consultation for me. I will put a link in the description box below of who I hired to do my macros, and then I took what she gave me, and because I am, you know, a little bit familiar with nutrition and I'm pretty familiar with fitness and working out, I kind of knew what I could tweak and what I could adjust to still suit my needs. So I hired somebody to do it, and then I went on one of the macro calculators, which I'll link that below too, and I typed it in, and I kind of compared the two to see how close they were, and then I found what worked for me. I'll tell you guys what the macros were that I was following, but I'm telling you, don't just go and copy what I was doing, because my lifestyle, your lifestyle, I'm only 5 feet tall, you know what I mean? Like, we're totally different people, so our macros should not be the same. But I'll go ahead and share with you guys. I wasn't sure if I was going to share, but might as well. So the macros that I was following 155 grams of carbs per day, 40 grams of fat per day, and 120 to 125 grams of protein per day. When you're doing If It Fits Your Macros, can you eat whatever you want? Technically, yes, you can eat whatever you want. Would I suggest eating whatever you want? No. That is kind of where I was thrown for a loop. I was like, well, this fits my macros, so I guess I can eat it, right? And I know a lot of people aren't going to like take it to the extreme like that, but I know myself, and I was just kind of pushing the limits, seeing what I could fit in, and it just, you can eat whatever you want, but to me, it's super important to still, even if you're counting your macros and trying to be more flexible with your diet, like, that's awesome, but it's so important to get those micronutrients in, which is the opposite of macro, micronutrients. So those micronutrients are like all of your vitamins and your minerals that your body needs, that you're going to get from the foods that you're eating. So if you're choosing to fit things like, you know, Pop-Tarts or ice cream or pizza into your macros, and that's all you're eating, like, that's fine. Like, you might, I don't know, you might lose weight, you might like look good on the outside if you're staying within your, you know, macros, but you're not going to be healthy on the inside. And to me, it's more than just looking good on the outside. Sorry if the lighting is a little bit different. My camera died mid-question, and I had to charge it, regroup, and refilm some of the questions. So I'm going to try to get through these quickly so my camera doesn't die again. What did I learn from counting my macros? I became a lot more aware of portion sizes and serving sizes. I didn't realize how many fats I was taking in per day, and I didn't realize that I wasn't getting enough protein per day. So that is definitely the biggest thing that I learned, was paying more attention to what makes up a food, so like the macros of a food. So I guess I'm just more aware of how much I'm eating, what's in what I'm eating, and stuff like that. Okay, so am I going to continue to count macros? The answer to that question is no. I am not going to continue to count macros, and there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, I don't really feel like there's a need for me to count macros. I'm not competing. I'm not trying to lean down or bulk up or really change my physique. So to me, it's just added stress counting macros. Like, okay, it wasn't stressful to count them, but for somebody like me, I'm very type A, which you guys know, and it's easy for me to become obsessed with something. So if I wasn't hitting my macros on the dot, every single macro, every single day, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. I knew nothing was going to happen, but it was like a mental thing for me. And I kind of almost felt like I was, in food prison, I guess, because I was like, okay, I'm only allowed to have this much per day, which works for some people. Like, I know myself, and I know that clean, intuitive eating works best for me. I eat when I'm hungry. I stop eating when I'm full. If I want a treat, I'll have a treat, doing it in moderation. I know what my body needs. So for me, I feel like I just don't need the added stresses of counting macros. So to me, it just depends on where you're at in life, what your goals are. Obviously, if you're preparing for a body competition, then yes, you're gonna need to track what you're eating, track, you know what I mean, like all that kind of stuff. But for somebody like me, I don't really feel like it's necessary. So, and if it was just kind of stressing me out mentally. The actual process of doing it wasn't stressful, but mentally I was like, oh my gosh. Like I told you, if I wasn't hitting my macros on the dot, or just knowing that I can only have like this amount of food, like when I woke up, when I had breakfast, I'd be like, okay, now I only have this much left, like what, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't fit well with my personality, so no, I am not going to continue counting my macros. Why do I choose to follow the intuitive eating? Like I said, it just works for me. I feel like each person knows their body best. You know when you're hungry. You can't base it on emotion though. You have to actually listen to your body and know when you're hungry, when you're full, that kind of a thing. So for some people, that's hard because they've kind of warped their body into not really knowing those hunger cues, so they need something to keep them on track. But for somebody like me, I just do better with kind of like, which is super weird because I really thought that I was going to be like into the macro thing because I'm very type A. I like things planned out, laid out, scheduled, but for some reason this was just too much for me. I just find that I do better just kind of listening to my body, like going with the flow, which is very unlike me, but that's why I'm surprised. But intuitive eating, clean eating, and just treating myself in moderation, that's what works for me. I'm not against macros by any means. I will be recommending it to some of my clients who I think struggle with intuitive eating and who I think will benefit from it. So I would suggest doing some of your own research just to kind of figure it out. You know yourself best. You know what's going to work for you. If you don't know, give it a try like I did. You know, do a 2, 3, 4 week trial and then kind of regroup, reassess, and figure out, is this what you want to do or is it not what you want to do? Make sure that you subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one.